Good early morning to you. Bob Venn on Route 11, just halfway between Rouse's Point and Champlain. Familiar landmark to you people in the area? Sunny Hill Farm Dairy for many years. Not only did they have a farm, they had a dairy, they sold milk. That was the Robinson family here, Tom Robinson and his family. But today it's different. Our focus today, Sunny Hill Farm Stables. Yes, we're at a horse farm, and we're going to be talking to the manager here, Dan Madish, and I think that's he right out there now, just letting one of the horses out into this first small, I guess you'd call it a paddock, right here. And we'll be going in and trying to find out for you what's going on here. That's the name of our program. That's our focus today. Sunny Hill Farm. Early morning traffic on Route 11 is heavy as usual. And we hope that you will enjoy today's show. It's something we've been thinking about now for about 2 months, because there's a lot of questions about the farm, and we hope that we can answer them for you. Thanks for tuning in. We're just a little bit ahead of our schedule. There's just doing the morning chores, and we're going to just watch a little bit of this before we start talking with Dan. Dan's down there. If you can see way down, he's got like a sprinkler, and he's sprinkling some liquid. Well, he just stopped like a sprinkling can, and you can see here a little bit of moisture on the floor, and I thought he was doing that so that when he swept, so when you sweep around, you don't get quite so much dust. He tells me that is the reason, and also there's some disinfectant that's in there, and you do that 3 times a day to keep down the germs and anything else that you want to eliminate. And I guess it makes a nice smell in the barn besides. And then now they're going to sweep. What we're looking at right here, this is cement. This is the old middle of the barn, that when it was a cow barn. And this area right here, and I think this was not the cow barn. The cow barn started about in here someplace. And right underneath here is the old barn cleaner, and the black you see along the side, and where he's sweeping into that opening, they have that's a hard rubberized, I'm sorry, it's wood, painted black. And they clean each stable, and they open up the little trap door and drop it into the barn cleaner. And the barn cleaner is functioning right now. It's going around in this U, and it's right behind Calvin is where the barn is. You can see the barn cleaner working right here, the old style, with the gutters. Very, very quiet. There's not a lot of liquid in a horse barn. It's nothing at all like it with a cow barn. It's and they're cleaning out each of the what do you call these, Dan? What's the official name of this enclosure? A stall. Well, that's simple enough. A stall. I thought it was even more formal than that.
Still a stall.
It's still called a stall. All right. And you see he just put the top back on here. And here's an open stall. One of the horses obviously was out. These are the ones they're cleaning. And they put hay. This is the holder for the hay here on the top. And then there is a feed bucket and a water bucket in here. This is water, and that's, I guess, for grain that they give them. And all in the nice green. Everybody's in green this morning, and all the buckets are in green. And we'll find out about that a little later on here, but we just want you to see what goes on behind the scenes in a stable. You're looking at Rodney Ormsby with at least the back to us here, a Champlainer. He handles that broom wheel well. My wife could use him at the house. I'll bet he's smiling behind us. There, he's smiling now. I've been up here several times, and I've talked to Rodney a couple times when Dan has not been available. And that's what they're doing. And see the nice sawdust. Obviously, the sawdust is treated because it's not just flying around. It must be to keep the dust down. What do you put on that, Rodney? Do you just water, liquid, that keeps it damp like this?
In the stall?
Yes.
Well, it's just like we build it up so many layers, and then we just keep on taking it down.
Yeah, but what do you put to make it look like it's damp?
Well, it's just like After they keep on going to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, okay. So there's really no nothing you add to it. Okay, so
Sometimes we put the fine stuff
in there also.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And Maddish is Dan Maddish when he had his own stable some time back, and this was his green and white of the Maddish stables then. But now we got some visitors here. By the way, these are not horses. These are not small horses you see here. They're two farm dogs. And we'll find out more about them when we talk with Dan. And then you see, I'm not sure what the name of those are, the official name of this. What's that name of just the trunk? Shall we? Just a trunk. There must be a more formal name, not a more formal name than that. Okay, it's a trunk, and that's also got the symbol of the Maddish stable, and everything is green here. And we'll find out more, but this is where we were looking before, the manure spreader. All of the manure goes up here, and goes up, and then there's a conveyor that goes up and drops it into a spreader, I assume. That's the way it's usually done. And this barn has been completely done over. And here we can just look at, and we'll get more information later, but there's the harnesses. Again, the colors of green, which I assume you're going to keep. You staying in the green color with Sunny Hill?
Yes.
Okay, so the colors.
For the raising part of the business, and the farm is black and white, and that's what we'll keep around here.
Okay. So then you see all of the. It's too bad to get rid of all these colors. So you got to keep that color when it's on the when they're out in the racing. And Dan did do some racing earlier this week, and we'll talk to him about that too. The bars on the window are not to keep people out. It's to stop the horses if they're over here from hitting and breaking the window. And I don't think they're trying. It's pretty well. Maybe it's to keep people out too. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anybody's going to be in here. But this is to protect the windows from the horses so they don't get caught. Nice little sitting area here. They set up, obviously, I'd like to think just for us, but they didn't. That's a little corner here, and there's some very nice areas down we'll get back to too. And we got water, which we thought for the horses. Look here, we got our two friends here drinking, and one of them is tired, so he's sitting down while he drinks. You're looking at the exerciser, which is behind the barn. It's sawdust and other dirt mixed in here, and this is an exerciser. The horses stop when they want. When they feel like walking, they automatically just start walking. I believe they can also, there's a motor to it that they can make them walk if they don't want it. Be walking, they're going to do it anyway. This saves a lot of time and a lot of effort for somebody. They just keep walking. It gives them their exercise. The big trailer.
One horse walks, they both walk.
Yes, they sure do. And wouldn't this be a great way to entertain your children? You just, then they're nice and safe there. They just go around. I believe these are the two racing colts they have for Sunny Hill stables. And then the big trailer that they use to transport the horses and the equipment to the races. Right over there. Mm-hmm. And as we look, again, just the back, all of the blue stones here. I guess I'm not sure I got to get a name for this. I think they've already been around. He'll explain that to us. The track is out in the back. There's a half-mile track out back, and all of the black fences, the popular black fences that you would notice a lot as you come along Route 11. You notice the water, it's just too bad. We've had so much rain that the water just gathered. The ground is full of water. And so you see, and they're still picking up. They're always improving here. And that's been our problem of it coming, because every time we've planned on coming, there's been something else developing. We've waited. And as a result of that, we'll get where it's well into its completion, but there's still things they're doing to beautify the area. Here's a couple of the sulkies you see out around behind. Again, those were Maddish stable on them, the green and the white, where they, of course, they're racing their horses when they're doing the sulky racing. Basically, there are two kinds of racing horses, two different breeds. There is a thoroughbred, and then there is the standard bred. And thoroughbred does not mean like you would when you're talking about cows, that it's a full breed and the standard bred is a standard. That's not what it means at all. A thoroughbred is a running horse that has a rider on top, the kind you see for the Kentucky Derby and that type of thing. Then you have the standard bred, which is a type of a horse that is bred to run ahead of the cart. And then within this type of sulky racing, the standard bred racing, there are two types of horses or gaits. One is called trotters, and the other one is called a pacer. A trotter is the normal right front leg and the left rear are run together, and then they alternate sides. A pacer runs with two legs on one side making the move and then two on the other side, and they kind of waddle because and both of these horses are pacers, and we'll let Dan explain that more to us, but just to give you an idea what we're going to talk about, that type of thing. We also noticed a stairway going up here. It goes up on top of this had been built new, I believe, on the end. That's where all of the manure and the things are going now. And over in the far corner, Dan told me last week that they're getting ready to make a enclosure with dirt, and they're going to have flowers in there, and they're going to beautify the back end of this. And they've just put these wooden timbers around the exercise. That wasn't there when I came over a week ago. That's something that they've been going. They've just got finished picking up all the stones in this field in the background over here, just to the left of the track. Johnny Menard, who works here from Cooperville, the Menard family that run the old Bayshore farm in Cooperville, and Rodney Ormsby were doing that. It's part of their job. They were picking up the stones and getting ready to plant. And they got a little depression here with the water. That'll all be taken care of. A lot of horses down below, and two nice dogs coming to visit us here. They're getting to know me when I come. We'll be right back. So your title here is partner in the part. Okay, we're very pleased this morning to be talking with Dan Madish. And what's going on? Well, first of all, we'll get him on camera here and say this is Dan. And Dan, good morning.
How do you do?
Tell us what's going on here in the background. But first, what's this in the back?
Well, the tractor, Johnny Menard, he's the farm manager for Sunny Hill Stables. He's going out on the track now to condition the track. This machine comes from Ohio, specially made to maintain the surface of the track. And every day, sometimes twice a day, we go on the track and we draw some material around and we level it off, take all the hoof prints off so we can start fresh.
Okay, when you say conditioning, you mean just taking the hoof prints, or is he kind of...
Well, it takes the hoof prints out of the track and it brings up the dust from underneath and mixes it with the parts of the gravel and makes a surface that we like to run the horses on.
All right, we see the horses in the background. Dan, tell us about Dan Madish. What's your background?
Well, I started in the horse business back in 1974. I went right from high school down to Saratoga. My parents owned a couple of horses down there, and I used to go down summer vacations from school, and I liked it very much, so it seemed like the natural thing to do. So I've been in the horse business ever since then.
Well, you mentioned two things. You mentioned down to Saratoga. That means you were in Champlain?
No, Cliff Haven. I grew up just south of Plattsburgh.
In Plattsburgh? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and so that you did work with horses over in Canada later?
Yeah, back in 1981, I met a gentleman that had 125 horses in Canada and made a deal to work exclusively for him, train his horses. I used to operate a public stable in Saratoga, and I always felt to do something a little bigger than that and go out and see what the rest of the horse world was about. And
okay, when you say public stable, you mean for riding horses or for...
No, just the
standard breds?
horses. That's all I've ever done,
Right,
standard breds.
Okay,
yeah.
I tried to explain a little bit here the difference between a thoroughbred and a standard bred, and it does not mean a pure breed. It does not mean they're both purebred horses, but it doesn't mean that one is purebred and the other one is standard.
That's right.
Right? Would you explain that a little bit? I tried to, but
Well, it's the breed of the horse, and people for years have been trying to get the name Standardbred changed to something like Blue Blood or something,
Okay.
because it
Yeah.
seemed to lessen the quality of the horse. You'd think Standardbred, and you think it's not
Yes.
a quality breed
Right.
of horse, but
But I mentioned that the Standardbred are the ones where you have a driver and you're hooked to a cart of some kind,
That's
and the
right.
Thoroughbred is where you have a rider on top.
That's right.
Basically.
that's right.
And what do we have behind us? You mentioned. Well, I see horses all over. Are these?
These are the two harness horses that we have on the property now. We bought these horses as yearlings down in Harrisburg in November 1989. This is a BG's Bunny colt. He's eligible to the New Jersey Sire Stakes program, and we staked him to some special events around the country. That's my wife, Kathy, by the way, getting the horse right now.
Okay. Now, you mentioned a couple of things here that I know about. I'm sure people don't. Sire stake and whatever. What does that mean?
Well, these horses, we participate in special programs and special events. We race and buy just young horses as yearlings in the sale or private deals as yearlings, and bring them to the farm here where they're broken to the most basic things: to lead, to be bathed, to be brushed. And then we start on the equipment, the bridles, the harness, and walking the horses, teaching them to turn. We need 3 men to do that for each horse.
I beg your pardon, say that again?
Well, when we start that, we have a long line. We have the equipment the horse wears. We have a long line on the right-hand side of the horse with a man on it, a long line on the left-hand side of the horse with a man on it, and then Kathy or myself is driving the horse from behind. So it takes 3 people to break each one of these horses for about 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, depending on the horse. And they go like that for almost a week before we even put one of these jog carts on them.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Now, I always think of everything clockwise.
mhm.
Everything, you put a screw in clockwise. Horses race counterclockwise.
That's right.
Is there a reason for that?
I'm not sure how that ever started. And I think in North America, they're going counterclockwise all the time.
Yes.
And I've seen races from Europe where they're going the other way
The
on
other-
the track.
In other words, we're talking about you're always running with your left side of your horse and toward the inside of the track,
That's
and everybody stays to the right in the United States generally, and I think even when people run with the running tracks, they're running counterclockwise.
Mhm.
They also run with their left side to the. Now, is this? I thought they were driving this themselves, but that's all.
Yeah, that's motorized and variable speed. We use it 99% of the time, if not all the time, on this speed here, because we use it just as a walking machine to cool the horses out and to give them some exercise in the morning. Both these horses that you saw, we prepare them to race as athletes, and we make them feel so good that they're hard to handle until they've had some exercise in the morning. So the very first thing after they've been fed and eaten their breakfast, they come out on this walker and get all the kinks out of them, and then they're much easier to manage. That's something that is very rare in the standardbred business, but from the thoroughbred business, what I noticed of the thoroughbred business, I think it's a great tool in
Okay.
managing these horses.
What I wanted to. Well, let me get you. I want to make sure you get on camera here when you're telling us. But I thought they were stopped out here before, and then they started. I thought they were starting it for themselves. Does it stop at all, or does it continue? It doesn't have a cycle where it stops for a moment or anything
No,
like that?
but it has a safety feature in it to where a horse can stop. But say if a horse fell down or got tangled up in it,
Or-
then the belt will slip
Okay.
if you just put 40 pounds of pressure.
So even if a horse didn't want to go, it could stop it.
Oh yeah.
It could stop it. All right. Well, these two small horses going around the track right now. Tell us about them.
Well, these are our little buddies. We got these guys down in Florida at 7 weeks old this past year, and we were looking for a good dog for the farm that would be good with children and people, a safe dog to have, and a good dog for horses. And they're also the guard dogs for the farm. You know, usually someone that shouldn't be here and
I'm sure.
hesitate
I'm sure.
to get out
They
of
would
the
think,
car.
yes. And the breed you told me before, and I can't pronounce it,
Is Rottweiler.
Rottweiler. And they're about 11 months old, I think you
Yeah,
said, right?
Yeah.
And they are brothers from a litter of 10 you mentioned earlier. And I want to remind you that the focus this morning is the Sunny Hill Farm Stables or Sunny Hill Stables?
Sunny Hill Stables.
Sunny Hill Stables, and it's the old Sunny Hill farm, as we mentioned, and you can see that's Johnny in the back there now, way on the other side, conditioning the track. How wide is the track here?
It's approximately 60 feet.
Is that the regular track size if you're
Well,
at a track?
I think they're about 70 feet, 80 feet, the tracks, when you go to the racetracks. This is very large for a farm track, but we wanted to build a track that was an A-rated track. We went to a great extreme, and it was very hard. It took 11 months to build this track.
I wanted to ask you about that. Now, you didn't just take the field and what do you call it? Just crushed stone? But is there a name for that kind of stuff?
We call it stone dust.
Stone dust.
Yeah.
You don't just put stone dust around on top of your meadow.
No.
You didn't do that. What did you have to do here?
Well, the first thing first of all, you have to measure a track and find a place on your farm where it can go. And believe it or not, this was the only place on 100 acres where we could put a track. We even considered putting it across the street because it was so hard to get in here. We had a big knoll on this side of the track on the infield that all had to be pushed away and pushed down to here. And it's a very precise thing.
Okay, so then
very
you
hard
had to
build.
dig out a base like you would a road?
You measure out your track, you find a place where it can go, you stake it all out, surveyors come, stake it all out for you, and you bring in the big bulldozers that strip all the topsoil away. There isn't a bit of topsoil left anywhere on that track. It all had to be stripped away. We had mounds 30, 40 feet high all the way around the track. And then you take the subsoil that's left, and where it's high, because the track is completely level on the inside, you take it where it's high and you draw it to places
Now,
where
when you
it's
say
low.
on the inside, you mean on the inside of the track here, not in the infield,
That's
right?
That's
Okay.
right. About 11 feet out from the inside of the track is where our mile distance is. It's incredible the difference between being 11 feet out or like being 14 feet out. That's why when you see horses racing, you see some on the inside,
Yes.
some on the outside. The horse on the outside has to go 100 and some feet further if he's parked all the way like that than the horse on the inside. So that's where the strategy comes
Okay, so
from.
you put gravel on top of that? Did you have to
Then we take all the subsoil, which is a base material,
Right.
and we bring it all up to grade. This track has 600-foot stretches, banked at 4 degrees, coming up about 50 feet, and then if we come to the crown in the track, where it banks down 2 degrees for the proper drainage. 150 feet before you enter this turn, we start our 7% grade, which comes halfway through the turn here to 7%, and then we start down again, and 100 feet past the turn is where we bring it back to a 4% grade. And that's the newest track design, and it's for soundness of the horse and for speed and for proper drainage. And we do the same thing on this turn. We come down 150 feet before the turn, start our 7% grade, and it's not an easy thing to build.
When I mentioned you don't just put the stone dust on the track, I didn't know we were going to get into 7%, and it's very precise.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely
Yes, it is.
precise. And then once you get that, then you drew in tons and tons and loads of this stone dust.
Yeah, to start, we compacted each job that we did. After all the subsoil was done, we had the big steamroller out here. We compacted the whole job about 4 times, actually. Then we put 6 inches of sand. We used sand from the property. Fortunately, we had a couple of hundred loads of sand on the property and a sand pit down there.
Okay, in behind.
Yeah,
in
we
the
had
trees?
we excavated that whole piece down there where those trees are. We had a big pit there, which all had to be covered in after that. Put in 6 inches of sand. We had to draw 200 more loads onto it. Put in 6 inches of sand, compacted that twice with the big steamroller, graded that, brought it all up to the proper grades, and then they were ready to bring the stone dust on, and we put 2,600 tons of stone dust on this track.
2,600 tons.
And that's just the beginning. Every year we'll probably have to put 600 or 800 tons of stone dust onto the
Now,
track.
the winter will not cause this track any problem that you can expect.
I wouldn't think so. Always in the spring when the frost comes out of the ground, you have a 2-week period where your track isn't in the condition that you want it to be in. And we're going to miss that time of year because we'll stay in Florida purposely.
All right, you're going to take these horses.
Yes.
What about the other horses I've seen in the field? What are they?
These are pleasure horses. Neil Sutcliffe, which owns the farm, owns Sunny Hill Stables. He's from Montreal. He's been coming to the area for many years, and he wanted to buy a farm to get his family involved in horses, and this is what he found that he liked. And the horses that you see are pleasure horses for Neil and for his boys. He has 3 sons, and then a couple of my wife's horses.
Okay,
that
so
you
that's
see
the other
also.
horses. Now, misconceptions. I've heard that you're going to have a riding stable here, that people are going to board their horses here and come here on Sunday and ride their own horse.
Well, when I met Neil back in March of 1989, we thought to go into the harness horse business. I'd been out for almost a year. The gentleman that I mentioned earlier from Montreal was getting older and his health was failing, so he sold all his horses. And it gave me the opportunity to take some time off, and I met Neil. We were going to go back into the horse business. Neil Sutcliffe had been in it earlier, enjoyed it, gotten out, and was feeling to do something again. And we decided not to. It's a great expense, and it's a tough business.
Oh,
racing
you want to
business,
believe.
like any
Yeah.
business.
And the only income is when you win a race, right?
That's right.
There's no, or you sell
That's
a
right.
trained horse.
That's right.
A lot of times.
So during the summer, we had some ideas of what we could do for the property, and at one time we were really set to make an equestrian center out of it, but got the feeling that the area wasn't ready to pay for what it would cost to maintain a good quality equestrian horse, and decided to go into the harness horse business in late August last year. So we committed ourselves to that.
Okay, you mentioned the Harrisburg sale in Pennsylvania. I know a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about that. There's a lot of sales in Harrisburg for horses. That's a center. Pennsylvania's a center.
Well, Hanover Shoe Farms puts on the Harrisburg sale, and Hanover Shoe Farms is the largest horse farm in the world today, and of any breed. Largest horse farm in the world, and you get a big choice of horses. They run their own horses through the sale, and other people bring their horses there to be sold, and it's all yearlings. It's a yearling sale that we go to, and we get about 2,000 horses to choose from.
Okay.
We make a big
All right.
week and a half.
Those horses are a year old, the yearlings, right?
That's right. They're approximately 18 months old.
Okay, now let's talk about the age of a horse. I'm familiar. Any racehorse has a birthday the same day.
January 1st of every year.
Every horse birthday is January the 1st. Gets 1 year older. If it was born in November, it's a year old on January 1st. Correct?
It's horses aren't born in November anymore, but it would
Okay,
be,
if
yes.
it were born.
Yes.
So that what you want is your horse to be born in January or February, so he's a full 10 or
That's right.
11 or 12 months before he's a year old.
That's
A horse automatically, and in the first of the year, every horse is 1 year older. Standard bred as well as thoroughbred,
Mhm.
right? Okay, now, well, you got this 18-month-old horse you're going to buy, never had a bridle on, so to speak. How do you know which of the 2,000 you want to buy? Because they aren't all going to be good horses, right?
Mm-mm.
What's the main thing you look for?
Well, we start with the pedigrees. That's the first place to start. You get your sales catalog, and you just start going through the sales catalog, and you have a general idea of how much money you'd like to spend and the sires that you like, and trotter or pacer. And you start from there, and then sometimes if you have time, you're able to visit the farms. All the big farms put on a showing day, and they'll fly you down to their farm, wherever it might be, free of charge. If you're already a buyer, you get invited down to the farm, and you get to see these horses before they come to the sale.
All right. The sire, of course, is the male, and the dam is the
Female.
And these big horse farms like Hanover are primarily popular because of their sires, right?
That's right.
Who have raced a lot. So it's more important that your sire be the champion than it would be your dam. Of course, it's always nice when your dam is also.
Now it's equally as important. In our industry, unfortunately, I disagree with it. You're able to breed an unlimited number of horses to a stallion. We breed mostly through artificial insemination done on the premises. So you could breed an unlimited amount of mares to a stallion, and it waters down the quality of the horse. One of these colts that you saw go out, the darker colt, his sire was the world champion, greatest horse of my time, Niatros, back in 1980, 81. And they started breeding 250, 300 mares to him. His stud fee was $40,000.
Let's just let that sink in a minute. The stud fee, $40,000. Is that normal?
Well, our highest stud fee got up to $75,000 for one of the horses in our business, and the average is probably well, there's just a great number of stallions to breed to, but we look for horses between $7,000 and $20,000 stud fees. You know, we generally don't go after the high-priced horses.
Okay, let's just take a short break here and give Calvin a rest with his camera, and we'll get right back to you. Bob Venn with What's Going On Here. Dan Madish is my guest. He's the trainer or partner in this racing business at the Sunny Hill Stables on Route 11 between Champlain and Rouse's Point. And we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in. The next thing we're going to watch Dan and Kathy get the two colts ready for their workout this morning. They work out the horses, I think, only once a day in the morning. And when do you start in the morning, Dan?
The horses are fed around 6 a.m. every morning, and then they're started to be groomed around 7:15.
So they're brushing here now, and he's just get the general brush down. And you dairy farmers out there, you'll see that you're not the only ones that get up early in the morning. I think I talked with Dan before, and he said that they are up about 5:30, and then they're out here, and they start their long day's work. And you'll notice the very small legs on the horse. What I would say very small, very, very tiny. And the most critical part of a racehorse, I think, is his legs, because that's where damage comes more than any other place. Is that right, Dan?
That's right.
Usually front or back?
Front is a big problem with horses, and
Let's get, watch you just getting back here, Calvin. And we were talking before that with the standard bred, and they're not standard, no worry about it, they're very special, but they're called standard bred. They're the driving horses. There's two different types. There is the trotters and the pacers, and we'll show you the difference. And usually the ones that have the harness that comes down around their knees is a pacer. I think that's to help keep them in their gait.
that's right.
There's two different gaits. We call it a gait, or they call it a gait, G-A-I-T, and that would be a pacing gait. And pacers are faster by how many seconds would you say than the trotter?
Well, the world record for a pacer is 1:48 and 2
Oh,
for the
wow.
distance of a mile, and for a trotter, I'm not sure, Bob, but I think it's 1:52, which is
Okay.
very fast also.
Yeah, so they're talking about a 4 seconds, and that's probably, you're talking about the ultimate. It's usually much more than 4 seconds difference, and that's because the trotter. Now, trotter is the more normal of any animal, including yourself. When you as a human being are walking, if you'll notice that when you step out with your right foot, your left arm swings on that side. And you don't walk with your right foot and your right arm swinging on the same side. That's what pacing is. Both extremities, the two right legs go together, and then the two left legs, and they kind of, if I can, I hope I'm not insulting anybody, but it's a fast waddle, so to speak. The legs kick way out, and they're on their, they'll swing out. You'll see the difference, and it's a very unusual gait, and you have to train them for that?
Well, they're bred.
It's bred into that, huh?
Pacer trot. There's exceptions to that occasionally, but usually the horse's gait is bred into them already. It's like you say, trotting is a natural gait of a horse, and pacing is a man-made gait.
And a dog, you'll see a dog walking, a cow, they all would be comparable to a trotter. The left rear leg and the right front go together, forward. Then the other two go forward. But with a pacer, as I say, it's both on the same side. He's putting the harness on now. The part under the tail is called the britchin? Crupper, okay. Which is the britchin?
Never heard.
Well, that's the regular farm horse, I guess. It's called the crupper. And the part on the top that's straddling the horse on the top, what's that called up there? Just the harness?
Yeah.
Any no special name for that?
Every part of the harness has a technical name, I suppose, but I'm not up on it.
Well, it really isn't too that important to us either. I thought I could throw in the britch and show them I know what the parts of the thing is, and they've changed the name to the crupper on me. They keep the legs of the horses wrapped whenever you're not training?
Well, we wrap them, we take the bandages off to exercise the horse, and they're bathed every day, these horses, and on the hot walker and back in the stall to have some hay, and then about 2 hours after their exercise, the legs are dry. We rub them with whatever liniments, alcohol if there's no serious problem.
Okay.
On the horse, and then the bandage is back on.
It's a dry bandage. It's nothing on the bandage itself. You'll notice that the horse had shod. They had shoes. And surprising how often you have to shoe a horse. How often do you shoe these horses?
Well, it depends. I'll show you what this shoe here. Maybe you can take a look at it and see. This shoe, it depends on, horses wear their shoes differently. This is actually an aluminum running horseshoe with a toe grab on it. And 2 races is about all I can get out of a shoe like this. So if you put it on a Thursday and you're racing Thursday night, and you're racing Thursday the next week, well, it's been on for 11 days and you need a new shoe.
Do you shoe them yourself?
No, never drove a nail in a horse.
Never drove a nail. That's very tricky business. And the other thing is that the horse hoof grows quite fast, and regular horses and riding horses where you don't have a special, and I understood it was about at least once a month. Yeah?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's like a toenail or a fingernail. It grows, and what they do is you'll see the nails on his bottom foot. The nail, of course, you don't want to go in too far because it gets very fleshy in there, and that horse is going to, you get one of those nails in the wrong place, and that horse is going to limp for a few days or weeks. So the idea is to clinch the nail immediately outside. There's a special nails, and they immediately come right outside, and they cut them, and then they clinch them down.
Yeah, we do everything we can to stimulate the growth of the hoof, because they have to shoe these horses so often.
Who does your shoeing in this area? Is there someone special? Or do you do it when you're at the track?
I have been doing these horses. They've only been here for about 3 weeks. I had them done Monday when they went up to Blue Bonnets at both races this past Monday. So we brought them in early and we shot
At the track, right? They usually have, he's called, not a furrier.
They're called farriers.
Farrier.
Horseshoers. Blacksmith actually is a person that works with metal and makes things in metal.
Right.
And a horseshoer shoes horses.
Right. We used to have a man in Perry's Mills, the Grew family, for years, shoot out most of the horses in this area, the regular farm horses and the riding horses, and they made all the metal parts up there. They made some of their own horseshoes, and they used to go, and some of them they had to put into regular clamps to keep the horse from kicking, you know. These are very gentle horses you see here. And another thing we might mention that you'll watch, if you're going to watch a horse, the most important thing to watch is his ears. They have an ear like a swivel. It can go in any direction. You see his ears now are perked up. And you'll notice he were facing front. Now they got one facing sideways, because that ears tell you everything, right?
Yeah.
And when they go flat on the bottom of his head, you want to get moving because he's going to bite or do something.
Sure, every time he tries to act bad, you'll see his ears go back. But back like this isn't so bad.
No, it's when they go down.
Put his ear right against
Yeah,
like this.
start taking your track. You'll notice now, you see a horse usually will put the ears forward because they want to see what's happening ahead of them before they get there. And they get a good signal. Now, because we're talking, he's probably listening to me sideways here. So remember, keep away from a horse when his ears are down, And don't put your hand up to pet a horse on the nose with open fingers. It's a good way to lose a finger. What you should do is go up there with a clenched fist if you're going to do such thing and kind of work onto it. And remember, a horse sees things, I understand, much bigger than what they really are.
Yeah.
They can see things 3 or 4 times as big as that they really are. So when you got this hand coming up to their head all of a sudden and they're not used to it, it could be a problem. We're watching Dan Madish, and Kathy's doing the other down at the other end. She's down there, and she's got one leg up on the horse and on that colt. And now our dog has a ball. He went from his Coke can. When we came in, he was carrying a Pepsi can in his mouth. Empty one, obvious. And now he's got himself a ball. He wants to play. We're at the Sunny Hill Stables. How many stalls do you have?
There's 17 stalls in this section of the barn, and we've renovated the other section to build 5 more. So we could build 22 stalls in the barn the way it is now.
I notice you got 2. You give them grain every day?
They get fed 3 times a day, and if they're well, the same when they're racing, just at a different time.
Okay, it's very important that you control their diet, right?
That's right. Well, we do a lot of research, and we treat every horse as an individual. Every horseman has a basic diet that he puts his horses on, but we feed at 6 a.m. in the morning, and the tubs are left in for not more than an hour. The tubs are never left in the stall. They're all out now. And then we feed at noontime, and then we feed at 5:30 again. And
So the horse eats in that hour. He don't eat again till noon.
that's right.
They eat quicker that way, and then they learn that very quickly.
Yeah, because it's a good way to tell it how your horse is feeling.
Now, Dan, you mentioned you have 2 here now that are racing, and tell us about Monday night up in Blue Bonnet. We were going to get information on Blue Bonnet from Dan, but our battery died, and now he's going to get a program and talk more about it. And we see Kathy with the hammer and working on a shoe. Here, let's maybe get around the other side and see what she's doing. We mentioned before, Dan was mentioning he never put a nail in the shoe of the hoof of a horse. Well, Kathy is the shoer, and she just, now she's going to take the rasp. Oh, she's got something else. Oh, you got to go to the other side? Oh, we got to move again. All right. You're going to go up front now. She has put a few nails through a shoe. I guess this horse threw a shoe earlier. Now she's clipping the nail or the hoof around the shoe she just put on so that it doesn't overlap, so it would come off easier. I guess that's why. But she's clipping, and she's got some clippers. It's like a toenail clipper, but it's for horses. And in this case, she puts the horse's foot forward. Other times, it's back. And now she's clenching the nails down, make sure that the ends go down and into the hoof, that they don't fall out again. Horse gets very used to this. This is not his first time. It's like a haircut for a child. The first time it's rough, but from then on they get used to it, and they just something they have to put up with. Now she's taken, I think, what's called a rasp. I worked with Dr. Dwight in Chazy for years, and we used to do some of this. When not necessarily with putting shoes on, but a horse would have a bad foot or a cow, and they would. The hoof grows very quickly, just like a toenail or a fingernail, and they have to keep at it all the time. Plus, they can throw them. And Kathy doesn't weigh much more than that horse's leg, but she's handling that very easily. Well, I should say not easily, but very. She knows what she's doing there. And you want to be very careful. This is a great position for a horse to take a chunk out of your shoulder, but not these horses. Not these horses. There's also a story I've heard that when a horse bites, he can't open up his mouth. Have you ever heard that, Kathy? A horse bites, cannot open his mouth up like a normal person. He has to kind of slide off.
Yeah.
He slides.
Because they get scared. They get scared, and right away they just don't let go.
Okay, now watch
You
these.
mostly pull away from them or something.
Okay.
Or they back up.
Right. Okay.
They don't understand to open their mouth, I don't think.
Okay. Now you will notice, watch those ears. Whenever you're looking at this horse or any horse or in a movie, anything you see, watch the ears of a horse. He's telling you everything with his ears. That you see his ears are back now because he's watching to see what she says. and to hear what's going on behind him. That's where the action is. We're up front, we're strange. He could very well put those ears forward because he's seeing us, and he's never seen, I don't think, a camera this close, at least not at home here. Probably does at the racing. How long have you been with the horses, Kathy? Doing this?
Oh, I've had horses for almost 15 years. 16 years I've had horses. Long time.
Long time.
But race horses for about 6-7 years.
Great Adam, look at that horse hasn't got much fat on him. It just is trim. Look straight back. There's no bulge in the stomach of this horse, and race horses you don't want.
No, he's lean and mean.
All right, now you see again, the ears are forward now, watching us and listening to us. Grooming the horse, done every morning, and now do you groom only once a day, or do you do that more than once a day?
Well, you do them before you go out, and then when you
Come
back,
back,
you wash,
right?
and then before you put them back in the stall, you redo them with the bandages and whatever, and
You don't
wash
wash.
them up.
Do you wash them down when you get back? I'm sorry. You wash them down when you bring them back at all? Do you? or
Oh
is that-
yeah, when
you
they
do-
come in from
you
every,
wash them, huh?
every jogging, every training, they get their baths. It's the same like a person. If you come in wet, you're going to feel very uncomfortable. If you come in at all hot.
Mm-hmm. How long do you exercise them out there?
They go 3-4 miles a day. Usually 4 miles a day.
Okay.
When they have a day off in the paddock, the next day they usually go 3 miles.
Okay. And how? I beg your pardon. You go 3 what?
3 miles.
Okay. And about what speed? What percentage of their speed do you do out there? You don't run them full gait, obviously.
No, you'd have to talk to Dan.
Oh, okay.
We don't. They're more training miles. We save the racing miles for the race.
Okay. He
We train them
mentioned.
to keep them in shape, and
He mentioned to me 2 days before you do. When the other day, last Saturday, you ran them against each other on track conditions, right? You had a race between the two horses to get them ready for the race.
yeah, I don't remember how fast we went. We didn't go that fast.
You didn't go.
But
Okay.
it was like a race. We didn't go that fast. We did a good
Mhm.
training mile
Mhm.
for the 2 good quarters. But it was like a race because there was the 2 of them, and we made it into a race in the last bit.
You'll notice these horses get an awful lot of attention. This is what operates the farm, unless you've got money to just have a hobby, because this is where the money comes from. The race the other night, we'll get Dan to talk about it. That was I understand, was a $9,000 purse, and this horse won his race. I think it was a $9,000 race. The horse did not win $9,000. The winner gets a percentage, and I'm not sure what that is. Probably close to half, and then the next 4 positions all share in that purse, so that you don't necessarily have to win to make some money, but if you want to make some real money, you have to win.
Yeah, they split all the purses the same. The winner gets 50%.
It is 50%. Okay.
Second place is 25%, third place is 12%, fourth place is 8%, and fifth place is 5% of the purse, which makes 100%. That's how they're distributed.
Now, I mentioned, we talked before, generally when I was when I worked with the horses at Customs and we used to talk to the drivers, the drivers also work on a percentage. If they win first place and they're working for somebody, they get a certain rate, and if they're second, they get a certain rate, and just to ride, they get maybe $35 to $40 whether they win or lose. But if you want to make some money as a driver, you got to win, and you don't drive very much either, right?
Yeah, in our business, the common percentage is 5%. The driver gets 5% of the purses that the horse earns that he's driving. So a horse,
Whether he's okay, that would automatically work it
usually
even.
now it's become a straight 5% because the purses have increased so much. We used to bill 5% or $10, whichever was more. And
Okay.
years and years ago, the $10 was usually more. So now it's just a straight 5%.
Dan, what's the greatest number of horses you've driven one evening, one day?
Probably 7 or 8 horses.
Out of a 10 race day? I mean,
Yeah.
all at one track,
Yeah,
obviously.
well, sometime To tell you the truth, it probably was about 8 or 9 horses this day I'm thinking of, because we're involved in the special event races also.
Right.
And we had 7 of our own horses in from our own stable at Bluebonnets one afternoon, and then I think we went up to a stake race later on in the day and drove in an evening race at another track.
Isn't that a very tiring thing to drive a horse in a race? Say race 1? I mean, you don't do the running, but you're doing work up there. You're working.
Well, it's not tiring. It's a lot of fun, but it has the money's involved. Sometimes a great deal of money. So there's that part of it that you feel and things. But it's physically it's not hard.
Okay.
It's more of a mental.
Well, mental then. But then you get off that horse, and in 20 minutes you're ready, or 15 minutes you're riding in race 2, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Myself, I used to catch drive horses. I used to drive horses that other people trained. And I don't do it anymore. I stopped about 4 or 5 years ago and concentrate just on my own horses. I found that I was getting home. In a schedule like that, you eat your biggest meal after the races. So you're eating your supper at midnight. And you're up again at the earliest I could get out of bed was 8 a.m. and it was an hour too late, an hour and a half too late to see the biggest part that was going on in my stable. I'd always have a complete staff on hand and sometimes 2 second trainers to manage my stable, but I was missing the part that I enjoyed so much of the racing business. I stopped catch driving and I just drive my own horses now.
You're very trim and small and a nice small waist, and I'm just the opposite here. Now, if we were driving 2 different horses that were relatively equal, would I have much chance with, say, I got added weight? Does that make a big difference?
I don't think so, to tell you the truth. But then again, all the best drivers in our industry are smaller men, smaller built. You never see a big fella as a top driver. But it's not a factor. It's certainly nothing compared to the thoroughbred business.
There goes my chance to be a driver, because they don't have many of the bigger people doing it. But I could if I wanted to, and we get some owner that would take me. Have you ever had a bad accident?
I've never gotten seriously injured driving horses. I've probably only been in half a dozen accidents, which is practically nothing. Some drivers are in half a dozen accidents a year, easily. And I've never gotten stepped on by a horse. I've been under the horse, and a horse will do everything he can to avoid stepping on a person.
Yes.
And I just never gotten stepped on. I had a driver come back one time, and he thought he killed me because his horse was on top of me for about 25 or 30 feet. I was rolling under the horse and getting pushed by his legs, but I never got stepped on. And to this day, never a serious accident. I've had my bikes all smashed up and my horse
during the race, right?
Things like that in accidents, but never gotten seriously injured myself.
So it's not, there have been people killed, right?
Unfortunately, there's been many drivers killed.
It's very possible, you know. And
we just developed a new helmet that has to be approved. We always drove with helmets since I've been in the business, and some of the top drivers and top horsemen in our sport were killed in the last 10 years. Bill Houghton, Peter Houghton, his son, two of the greatest.
His son was killed?
Yeah. Well, no, Peter was killed in a car accident, I'm sorry. But Shelley Goodrow in California and Wayne Smullen, the top driver, just brought about some of the drivers started protesting, and it brought about a change in the helmets now that we wear. We wear a helmet just a little bit smaller than a motorcycle helmet. We used to wear a paper-thin helmet, you know, for comfort and for looks. Now the looks aren't as important as saving people's lives. So.
Right. We'll take a short break and let Dan drink and get this coffee before it gets too cold, and we'll be right back.
He's a real horse, this guy, real stallion.
All right, we're back with Dan again. Dan is back, and we just want to remind some of you people out there, of course, you're not as familiar with horses as Dan is, obviously, and myself, over a period of time, I'll ask you a question which I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you. What if you register this horse, British Dandy, in a race, and then you decide to put another horse in its place? How can you identify this horse from some other horse?
Well, these horses, excuse me, before they're raced or qualified to race, they're tattooed on the lip and with an identification number that's assigned to them right on their registration papers.
It's on that top lip. There's
Yeah.
the number that can be read.
Yeah. And it's read before every race by one of the racing officials. The horse is identified that way. And today, they started about 3 or 4 years ago. All these horses are blood typed as soon as they're born. The stallion, the mare, and the foal are all blood typed. So now it's impossible to mix horses up. You used to hear stories years ago of things like that happening, but it's impossible now.
All right, when you first get the horse, it's not tattooed. When you get your colt, right? I understand they do something around the feet someplace. Are you familiar with that?
Well, for identification on the farms, they'll tattoo the horse's foot, and now this other colt, you couldn't see it on the camera, but he's tattooed on his chest. He's with a freeze brand.
Is that
Has
right?
An identification number on his chest for the farm use.
Yeah. Now, freeze brand is what they're doing now to brand cattle, right?
That's right. It's the liquid nitrogen that they
Right.
use to
Okay, and we're the horse. Like I say, don't give him your fingers. Now, see, I think he thinks I want to see his tattoo, so he's showing me his tattoo. Some horses, you just get there and they'll just lift it up because a horse's most tender spot is the nose.
That's it, like cows are...
Right on that nose.
control the horse.
So if you got a horse that's bothering you or got a hold of you or is good at bothering you, just give him a good rap on the nose and he'll back up a little bit. That's not the way you train a horse, but the horse's nose is very, very sensitive.
Yeah, and the ears. This horse was raised with about 150 other horses. He was an early foal, so he became the dominant baby of the bunch of babies where he was raised. And now, earlier I was touching his ear, showing you how it was pulled back, and he was really fussy. Now he's calmer, but I can tell that he was used for discipline. They used to take his
ears. Oh yeah, those are
These
tender.
horses, they're wormed every 5 or 6 weeks, all throughout their life once they're weaned from the mother. They're given vaccinations on a program through their whole lives, and their feet are trimmed every 6 weeks when they're babies, to get everything to grow right and to keep the horse healthy. So they're handled quite a bit. When you get a tough one like this, they're handled.
Okay, now you were going to tell me about some of the races in the Blue Bonnet. You raced in Blue Bonnet this week, you said, right?
The races at Blue Bonnets, it's very convenient. Blue Bonnets being an A track, we're very, very fortunate to have the 3rd or 4th highest purse-paying track in North America right across the street here in Montreal.
That's right.
So it gives us a great opportunity to make some money in overnight racing events. And it maintains our horses for the special events that we participate in.
Okay, now Dan, maybe just come in front of this so it won't be in your face. Now, how long does it take you when you put these horses or one horse in a trailer to get to Blue Bonnets?
We're there in about 55 minutes.
That's awfully nice. That's like an awful lot of people don't get the tracks, even in the city.
Yeah.
If you were when you're closer, you couldn't make that kind of time,
We cross on a 72-hour pass, so we have all our health papers and Coggins test in order, and the vet doesn't have to be present at the border, so it's a very easy thing.
Either way, correct?
That's right.
Either way, you don't have it. All right, then there's a disease they're very concerned about at the border. Is it equine? Are you familiar with the name? I've forgotten it.
Swamp fever is the layman's term for the horse.
Okay.
That's what we take the Coggins test for.
Okay. And you have to have that record with you for the Coggins
every
test?
6 months it has to be taken on these horses to cross the border, and once a year the department that controls harness racing requires it to be taken.
I was going to say, even the track would want you to. Wouldn't want a horse with some
That's right.
disease there
You can't
passing it
get
along.
you can't get on the track. Some state lines you can't even cross on a horse.
Okay. So now you're going to tell us here about some of the races this horse is eligible for.
These horses, you don't have to stake them to any race when they're born. But a horse's value, for us especially, is in the programs that he's eligible to. And these programs start at the birth of the baby. The stallion is paid into a program where he stands, which is the New York Sire Stakes for the other colt, New Jersey for this one. That's where the stallion stands. And then there's 100 of special events around North America during the summer. They go all year, mostly in the summer, that you could pay into to be eligible for. The races at Blue Bonnets are overnight races. As a rule, they host special events also that cost nothing to go into. Both these horses, we didn't pay anything to race them last
You don't pay an
Monday
entry
night.
fee?
No. No, that was his first start. He won his race in a very good time. Looked very impressive his first start. at
That was
Blue
on Monday
Bonnets.
night.
Yeah, on Monday night. And he has these special events that he's staked for. He's missed these races. We broke him late and took in some extra time to develop him, and he had some aches and pains that we wanted to straighten out before we started him. We didn't want to spoil him because we think a lot of this colt. So he has a race coming up September 3rd. That's what we're prepping him for now at Freehold Raceway in a New Jersey Sire Stakes, which goes for $105,000.
Now that's 105, of which the winner would get 50%. Correct.
This is a race of divisions. So all the horses that are still participating in the program, because during the year, you know, you separate the men from the boys, and these are expensive races to participate in. So if you're not sure to collect some money, somebody has to finish last.
Exactly.
If you're not have a lot of confidence in your horse by this time, you drop out of the program.
Okay, now the entry fee on that was $500. Now, has that already been paid?
This horse was this is a starting fee, they call it, which
That's-
is due at the time that you're racing the
Oh,
horse.
okay.
And he's already paid in money to keep eligible for this. He's probably paid in about $1,500 to keep eligible to this one program.
That one race.
Yeah, the one program,
The one-
which is
the-
about 6 or 7
okay.
races. The New York Sire, the Sire Stakes program is about half a dozen races in each program they have, and then for a final. And for one race, though, we paid $3,500 just to keep him eligible for one race later on in the year.
Now, Dan, I notice here it says MADDISH, and your equipment
Yeah, this
MA1D. Which is right? 1D?
It's 1D.
1D. All right.
This is,
I had it spelled that way on my papers.
It's so complicated, the programs that these horses are eligible to, that we pay a staking service from Kentucky, $175 for each horse that we have to sort it out for us. And they do all our bookkeeping on these programs. And eventually, from about 40 or 50 programs this horse was eligible to, we narrow it down to a simple program like this.
And that's what he's eligible for here.
That's what he's eligible to this year. Those are the dates and the races.
You're going to eat that program.
He's showing us he's ready.
Yes. Now, you mentioned before the breeding fees, those stud fees, can run for race horses from what, 2,000 to?
Well, they start from almost nothing and go up to $75,000. This horse was a $6,000
Okay.
stud fee.
Again, from my job in the past, I know that the stud fee you do not pay anything until you get they drop a live colt.
That's right.
And if that colt drops alive, you said even if the legs are backwards, you pay your fee, right? And they guarantee nothing other than the colt will be alive. Now, on breeding farms, some people who use the sire will not let you bring your dam home because they're saying, I want to take care of the dam because I want that colt to live because I'm not going to get paid till later. I don't want to waste my breeding fee. Is that a big percentage of the farms that do that?
Not anymore. The farms, the biggest trouble they used to have is during the breeding season, they might get 400 mares going into the farm to be bred, you know, if they had 3 or 4 stallions at the farm. So the staff they'd have to keep on hand, they'd have to go looking for staff, and then in the summer, everybody'd bring their horses back to their own farms. They'd be down to 50 mares on the farm. They'd have to let all their staff go. Then in the breeding season again, they have to go out looking for 30 or 40 people to hire, and that was the biggest problem. But now with the artificial insemination they do, I think a farm would actually prefer if you brought your horse there, did the teasing and the preparation of the mare at your own farm, had your veterinarian come and check her to see if she was ready to be bred, bring the horse to the farm, unload her from the trailer, walk her into the breeding area, She's artificially inseminated, back onto the trailer and back home to the farm. I think that's what they prefer to do now.
Okay. Is there a reason for this green? I mean, obviously here you wouldn't
Yeah.
have it there, but what is the purpose of this green across the nose?
This is a shadow roll. This horse, he never jumped a shadow on the farm. He's calm and relaxed at the farm, and we took him to Blue Bonnets to train him up there, to give him a look around, to show him the big city and where he'd be racing, and he jumped every shadow you could imagine up there.
On the ground, so that way he can't see the shadow on the ground as much?
Yeah, he can see it as he's coming to it, and then it drops out of sight. And
So that he doesn't have to jump it.
That's right. That's right.
Can he wear that during the race?
Yes.
You can?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
You can wear anything as long as it doesn't come down past the front of the horse's nose.
They don't wear blinders at all? You don't have any?
Our other colt does. This prevents him from looking back.
Right.
Look to the
Okay.
side, see
A
horses.
horse's eye can swivel, and he can see 150 degrees, or so he can completely turn. And the blinder is, if you look on the wall over there, it's those things that are either side of a bridle that would block off the view from a horse coming up from behind or whatever. And there's various reasons. And the bit you have in this in the mouth of this horse is a very easy bit, or is it?
This is a quite severe bit, actually. It's Crit Davis, and it gives me a lot more control of this horse. He's a big bully rammy horse on the track, and this I use to control him. When I pull back on the lines, he'll get his head down and tuck his head down, and this bit comes up against the roof of his mouth, and it keeps his head up and in a proper position, so I have some control on the horse. Whereas a Crit Davis check bit and a Dr. Bristol driving bit, which gives me a little more control.
So you have
over his
two
mouth.
two
So
bits.
we have to find a bit that's severe enough to control the horse, but gentle enough not to hurt the horse as we're doing it, because you'll see there's never a cut in our horses' mouths or anything. We're very careful to.
As you people out there know, each of your children are different, and you treat them differently, and each and every horse trained by Dan Maddish or anybody in his staff or any other trainer are all different. He has to know his horses. He knows, for one thing, he needs this the shadow roll, and he also knows that he needs two different kinds of bits so he can get the best from this horse. Is that about it?
Yeah.
All right.
We put this extra snap on him here on his head check when he jogs to make it more comfortable for him, and we take it off when he trains and races.
Okay. Now, do you sometimes put a one between here, from the here up to the top so he can't lift his head?
This colt had one on for about 5 months when we were training him down in Florida, because they'll throw their head up
Yes.
and knock themselves off their feet. You know, their gait will be interrupted, and he got out of the bad habit of pulling his head up, and I
So
took it off.
you
him,
took it off?
and, the less equipment a horse wears, the more comfortable they are. So we
Okay.
put things on to straighten out some problems we have, but we always have to remember to take them off.
How often would one of your horses break? In other words, he going in his regular gait and he breaks out of it, he rears up, or he does something, he just gets out of step, got to get back in again, and he loses a lot of time. Does that happen often in the race?
Well, this horse, for instance, to use as an example, in his first qualifying race at Blue Bonnets, he was a completely different horse when he was around that many other horses and saw all the things you can see at a racetrack compared to the farm, and he made 4 or 5 breaks in his race, and he finished last, and we had a lot of problems to straighten out. I had to change the bits in the horse's mouth, and he used to wear a closed bridle. Now he wears this can't-see back bridle. And we changed the lengths of his hobbles, and we started to supplement his feed with vitamins that would relax him more. Big doses of vitamin E and things like that. And he's changed now. He's a lot calmer, and he's a much better horse. And 2 weeks later, we took him back, and he won his qualifying race in 2.5, and he had his first start on Monday night, and he won very easily in the mud in 2.5. Paced his last half in 59.
Now that's a turnaround that happened pretty quick. That's not normal.
Well, he was a horse, that we had him very close. We spent a lot of time on him, and we only had to make a few of these minor changes to get him right. And if you hit on the right things, the right changes, then that's the whole trick of it. Sometimes, occasionally, you can go the whole year never putting on the proper equipment to help the horse, and you'll lose a whole year.
Okay, we'll take a break here. We'll let these horses get into their jog carts. I think I call those sulkies outside. Those are your jog carts.
We have two of the jog carts that you saw, and then we have the one race bike for racing.
Out there, I didn't identify them, so they won't know I did not know what I was talking about on those. Okay, we'll be going outside and watch these horses do their exercise. 3 or 4 miles, Kathy said they'll be going around the track. That's a half-mile track?
Yes.
That means they'll be going around either 6 to 8 times, or maybe even 7 to average it out. Thanks for watching this. What's going on here? Bob Venn, our guest, Dan Madish, and we're at the Sunny Hill Stables on Route 11. We're watching the jog carts being installed. Look how high they are up on the harness of the horse. They aren't down alongside like you would normal those are called shafts on each side, and that's put up high. And this is a normal jog cart. I don't know the difference between this and a sulky that they actually use for the races. There are some differences, and we'll try and get that later. But they both come on. They're going to back the cart. They're going to do this one a little bit differently. They're going to do them while he's hooked up for some reason. And this is the normal kind of a cart. And there was for a while a cart with only one shaft. And it made a bow. It came out like this and went up and over like a fifth wheel on some of the trucks, and it would fasten to the top of the harness on top of the horse. It was a very unusual thing, and it was approved, and I don't know whether they're still using them or not. Kathy, are they still using the one-shafted carts? Not anymore, huh? I guess that was an experiment for some reason, and she said they aren't using them anymore. They used to come in once in a while. I've seen some races where they had used some. But that's 15 years ago, I think, 10 to 15. You know what I'm talking about? Came right up over the top, and it's fastened on the top of the harness. And it was approved for races as well. Yeah, it was approved for races. You didn't have the two, huh? One of the things is that the horse could pretty near go sideways, and it's like a swivel. That wasn't good, I don't think. But now you don't have any hobbles on the horse here, right, at all? Okay, but they're still pacing, right? Okay. Now, when they walk, do they walk the normal trotting way? In other words, they walk with the alternate legs? Okay, you'll have to watch this. And there were pictures taken many years ago of horses where they have decided that when a horse is running, there are cases where all 4 feet are in the air. They proved that in the old. I don't know if it was the standard breds or whether it was the thoroughbreds, but when they're really running, they don't always have 2 feet on the ground. They were all 4 from these still pictures they took. It is? Exactly. And then that's just before the others come down, the other one that just gone up. Right. Kathy, what's the difference between the jog cart and a regular sulky?
The sulkies are lighter for one, they're wider. It's easier, of course, to go around, I guess.
That's the sulky over there? And the wheels are bigger?
They're lighter. Well, they're thinner, actually. They're a little bit bigger around.
Right.
You're sitting closer to your horse, so you have a lot more control with your lines. The closer you are to your horse, the better, without your horse hitting the wheels. Much lighter.
Well,
the jog cart's more for comfort, because you can't be jogging a horse on those because your legs are up very high.
Comfort of the driver.
Comfort of the driver.
I noticed the seats are, the other one doesn't have any give at all, does it? There's no springs of any kind?
No.
This has a softer bottom here that you can...
No, it's made for you to sit closer to to your horse, so if you try to jog your horse 3-4 miles, it's hard.
Yeah.
You get sore back, you get sore legs. It's not the most comfortable thing to do.
And you're doing it, how long does it take you to do the 3 to 4 miles here? 15 minutes? 20 minutes? Okay, so they'll be out there exercising the horses for about 20 minutes. Obviously, we'll not get all of it. I don't think you want to be watching horse going around for 20 minutes. Once you see him go around once, unless something happens, it's the same thing. Unless one time we're going around, Kathy will smile, the next time she won't. Then it would make a difference.
Well, he might be a little playful the first time around.
Okay. Is there a reason he's putting the cart on inside rather than out here? That horse wants to be...
Dan's not ready yet, so.
Oh.
And there's nobody to hold him really. As soon as you get him ready, he's ready to go.
Oh, okay. They want to go, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
he's better off being kept inside. It's easier to handle him.
Okay, so you're ready to go. You go together? Oh, he's more patient.
Yeah, he's much more patient.
He's more like me.
This guy relaxed.
And the other one's more like Calvin. Calvin's got the camera. Calvin Castine. This is Bob Venn. We're at the Sunny Hill Farm, and we're going to watch the two colts, the racing colts from the Sunny Hill stables, go through their workout here as soon as Dan gets back. We were holding Dan up as he was talking with us, and there'll be no money wagered this morning on any of these races. They aren't racing, really. They're just out there to work the horses out and keep them in their training. This is all part of their training. Well, let me ask you a question. Well, you're doing this in the morning. You're going to feed them at noon. If you're not going to race tonight, what do you do during the rest of the day normally?
They rest in the afternoon.
They do. What do?
Oh, we have a lot of things.
Do you rest also? No.
No, not really.
Okay, but there's no set schedule the rest of the day. The morning is the busy time.
The morning's the work.
And we're here interrupting your busy time, but it's when you see things too. That's why we're here, obviously. But okay.
All the work's done in the morning with the horses, then they have their lunch and they rest after. These horses. Well, these ones are babies, so it's very important they get a lot of rest.
So this is the 2-year-old,
Yeah, he's 2-year-old.
and he'll be 3 years old. People, we're going to give you a test out there watching TV. When will this horse be 3 years old? You must know his birthday by now. Calvin, you want to guess this horse's birthday? January 1st. Well, automatically be a year older. That's when they, and that was hard for me to understand at first, but you can understand that, and they breed them so that they will be born, and they'll be 10, 11, maybe close to a full 12 months when they are a year old, because they're stronger. And we'll take a break here and be right back to you when we see the horses out on the track. Not quite. Okay, they're out there jogging now. Dan's with the front. That's Brandy, and the second one, I've forgotten the name already. Now, there's something that they're doing right off the bat that if you've been watching the program, you should notice. Right in the beginning. That's very unusual, and I don't understand why. They're going clockwise, not counterclockwise like they would in a race. Now, maybe that's so that the horses will know they're not in a race. I don't know. Is that the reason? I see two boys behind me here shaking their head. I can't think of any other reason. And that just so that they know they're not racing and they're not trying to give that competitive spirit, I guess. And you'll notice they're up on the outside of the track, so they don't have the tendency. And they don't need the bank of the track because they're not going to be going fast. If you look over here, you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you can see how this track is banked. You see there, you see the whole track, and as you approach here, you can just see the lip of the outside of this track. And then if you look over to our left, you can see how the track, that's what they were telling us on the 5 and the 7% and the 2% rise, and that gives them the opportunity to bank and not lose their speed. Otherwise, centrifugal force would carry them right off the track. You fellas here often? Are you part of this in some way?
Yeah, it's our dad that owns it.
Well, just a second here. See, what's these boys here? Let's just talk to these boys. Let me get your name, guys. My name is Bob Venn. This is a TV show. It'll be on local TV. You know that. I'm sure Dan cleared it with your dad. What is your name?
Sean.
You're Sean and?
Jared.
And last name?
Sutcliffe.
Sutcliffe. And you are from Montreal? You go to school in Montreal?
Yeah.
And you come down often?
Yeah.
Is your dad here today?
No, not today.
You drive?
Yes, we're here all summer.
Oh, you're here all
Yeah.
summer. So you're living here, or you're not at camp? I understand you have a
we
camp.
have a camp down on the lake.
I heard that from somebody in Shazy told me. So do you ever drive the horses?
Yeah, I did last week for the first time. I drove British Dandy.
Oh, that's the one that Dan has, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand these horses are yours here, are the family horses?
Yeah, the riding horse is down there.
How many do you have?
Well, there's 6 out there now, and there's another one in the barn.
7 altogether.
And how many do you have in the family? I mean, your the two
That's
boys?
it. Yeah, that's it.
Your two boys are the
No, we have
Sit-
another younger brother.
younger
who's
brother?
9. He's
No,
not here now.
girls? No.
No,
No.
all boys.
All going to be jockeys or drivers. Excuse me, I can't say jockeys, right? So you love horses?
Yeah.
Yep.
How long have you had a riding horse?
Just 2 years now.
Second year.
Second year. Do you have a farm or anything in Canada?
No.
So this is the farm right here. Huh?
Yeah. Yes.
So what does Dad do? What is his business?
My dad's a shipbroker.
A ship broker?
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's not selling ships?
No, no.
He's making sure that for carrying, right?
Yeah,
Across the ocean.
He arranges for people to get cargoes, and
Mm-hmm.
he rents the ships and charges people to
Well,
carry the cargoes.
yeah, here we are right here. We didn't even realize who these people are. Look at the smiling faces here, see? What do you think about the farm? You like farming like this, huh?
Yeah.
You come here every day?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
do?
We work
That's
here.
great.
You work here. What do you do?
Well,
Painted
you
the
see the
fences.
fence there?
Oh, you did all the fences?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. How come black and not white?
It's much easier to take care of.
Maintain.
Yeah.
It's easier to maintain.
And it's also, when they went down to Ocala, they saw that almost all the fences were black.
They
had
were.
changed from white fences to black fences, simply because it's easier to maintain. It doesn't look as dirty, because it's black. And also, we don't use paint on this. We use a mixture of the roofing tar mixed with kerosene, so it also protects the wood.
And here we thought we were going to have trouble talking to these young gentlemen. They know all about this. And, well, first of all, it looks good, too. It's different, right? It's different up here, at least. I have never seen a black fence like this. Is it black? It is black, right?
Yeah.
It's black, and it also doesn't stick out and hit you when there's a lot of it either. It kind of just blends in, right?
Yeah. It goes well with the barn.
Right? Yes, I know you got the black. So how long did it take you to put all that on there?
Well, we're not finished yet.
You're not finished.
We still have the back side over there
Uh-huh.
a bit.
Oh, I see some way over there. Okay, now, do you get paid by the foot for this?
Well, we don't know.
They let you eat at home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? You know what I used to do with my kids at home to save money? I used to give them each $1 if they didn't eat dinner at night. And then I charged them for breakfast. Okay. Well, hey, well, great, guys. Thanks, Todd, for talking to us. We may get back to you with some more questions. Do you do any work out in the field, too?
Pick some rocks.
You did? Oh, I saw them picking here
Yeah.
last week when they were picking. What's that big rock there? That just hasn't been moved yet?
Yeah, I guess.
Is that a rock right there? That's a big one, isn't it, right out there? Or is that a piece of wood?
I don't know.
That's a big one, huh?
Yeah.
Must have floated up.
Yeah.
There's enough water here for your dad's business right here. Look at this. Enough water here to start a
Yeah, that's
shipping.
got to be filled in.
Well, it'll have to be because, but you can't. It's been raining so much this year. It's been terrible. Well, they've really done an awful lot. I understand they're going to be planting flowers over here in the back, too.
Yeah, nice little kind of rock garden thing.
Mm-hmm.
Flower boxes.
You got your name on anywhere on these fences? Did you put your name on the back where they can't see it and say it's painted by? You didn't do that?
No.
You'll have to do that. Put the name and say painted by and kind of put it in the back.
We just tell everyone. Who
You
did
tell.
it.
Well, God, I'm glad I asked you because you did all that. That's a lot of work. Have you any idea how many feet of fence you have?
I think it's almost a mile. I think
Of
it's a
fence.
mile. About a mile.
All right. All right. Let me ask you. The fences are white. Is that so you can find? I mean, the gates. That's so you can find them, or
No,
they came that way?
Yeah, they came that way, and we decided to leave it. It's a nice contrast.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, you're young businessmen here. They're really talking very intelligently, I must say. And not that I expected that you wouldn't, but you know all about this. On this Thursday morning, it's 10 a.m., and we're at the Sunny Hill Farm. Beautiful. And give it another year because they're improving every day. Bringing it. Do you know how much land you own behind those trees?
Not too much behind the trees. And some places it goes in about a few 100 feet.
Is it all woods, though?
Yeah.
So there's not anything you do
We have
back
some-
there?
No, we have some horse trails for riding. Back
Do
there,
you?
But they weren't so good this year because, I don't know, it rained, like I
Oh,
said, it
yes,
rained
an
a lot.
awful
and
lot
it's
of
all
rain.
mucky.
Yes,
Lots of bugs.
right.
The horses
Yeah,
don't
you
like
don't need bugs,
No.
is right. Well, what other plans do you have do you know any other plans here for outside that improving? You may have to do some more filling up here.
We're going to get all the grass planted down here.
On the side,
Yeah.
yeah. Aren't you glad you didn't have grass seed in there this past day? It would have been all in one pile this morning. And there are the red hat is Kathy, and Dan's on the inside of the track. And is that a normal speed that they usually train that?
That's a jogging.
That's the
speed.
jog.
If they train, they do it the other way when they're training them.
Okay.
And then
So
they go faster.
this is strictly exercise.
That's right.
So they only exercise this morning. There won't be
Yeah.
any training this
No,
morning.
not this morning.
Okay, so we're using the wrong words. There's a big difference between exercising and training.
This is called jogging. They're just jogging.
And they do it once a day. Like I said, they go around 7 or 8 times for
Yeah.
3 or 4 miles.
Yeah.
And you do that once in a while.
Yep.
You like that?
Mm-hmm. It's great fun,
You like that?
especially if we can race.
You like horses?
Yeah.
My daughters each had a horse years ago, and they always remember. They were back until they were about 15. They had their horses, and something they always remember. You'll never forget that.
Yeah.
It's good training to have you said you drove here. You drove from the camp. Where is your camp? Down on the landing, huh?
Yeah, on Shazy Landing.
Is that?
It's in Trombley's Bay. I don't
Oh,
know
dear.
the name of that.
I think that's down beyond Stone House where
The Saks?
Skip Sacks.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
you're,
just
you're
next
south
door
of
now,
there.
yeah.
Okay. You know where Marshall Maynard lives? He lives. Are you beyond where the lake comes up right next to the road? There's all these new houses. Are you just south of
Yeah,
there?
It's right near there. It's
That's what I thought. That Trombley is beyond
yeah. It's do you know where Phil Force used to live?
there. No, but I think you're near Peter Fortrell someplace.
Or the
Uh, We're upstairs in a little level area over the west end of the barn, and we're just getting a bird's eye view of the farm. There's about 95 acres, but they bought more land, I understand, in to the north of here, in behind that tree line. They bought some 45 acres more to add, and Dan mentioned before that they were thinking of putting the track over there, but because it wasn't quite level enough, and that's when they decided to go here. And you can see the track here in its entirety now, as we're up high enough. Just beyond that white house to the west of us is the Midway Market. That's where you're located. And you see the big truck up above. That's coming from Canada. Canada's about 1.5 miles north of us. Makes it very handy to get into Canada. And we enjoy talking to the sons of the owner here, and they've been in the area, they said, since they were younger. Used to play some baseball in Shazy, and they're not doing that this year, but they enjoy their summer down in Clinton County. And this is newly seeded. All this has been newly seeded. And we're going to go downstairs now and talk to Dan after he gets his horse. We're going to watch him wash the horse down maybe, and then we'll talk to him a little bit about how many horses they're planning on getting here and any other information, and we'll look at another part of the barn, and then we'll call it quits. And we're glad you're with us today on what's going on here, the Sunny Hill Stables.
We can see the steam here. Maybe Bob can tell you a little bit about why it's steam.
Well, the horse, of course, has been perspiring, and it's cooler in here, I guess. And then, as they let him eat before you wash him down.
Yeah, so he can relax, and that's all he's thinking about is having a drink of water and getting some of the hay. So
And he's not going to be overfed with the little bit of hay he's given. Of course, you remember they're on a very strict diet, right? Mm-hmm. Now, will he be fed again later, or is that what he's going to get for noon?
He'll get a noon feeding, with his grain, and we usually give him another half a flake of hay or so, and then he gets a couple of more flakes at night.
I eat more than that.
That's a lot of. It depends on what the quality of what you're feeding is. Down in Florida, we buy 100% alfalfa hay from New Mexico, and the horse gets 2 flakes. A horse this size, only about that big, and it's all he can eat.
I never heard the expression flake of hay. What's a flake of hay?
Well, it's when it's baled.
Yeah.
The bill,
Oh,
it takes a piece. And
yeah, okay,
punches
that's
it
what you
back.
call a flake. I know what you mean, because it separates. Okay, I know that. Now, Dan, tell us about Florida. You're leaving when to go to Florida?
We wait till the sale in Harrisburg. That's the last sale that we go to, first week in November, and then we bring our colts.
Then you come back
here.
home, right?
Yeah, or
Oh, you're going to buy some this year, you figure?
oh, sure, we'll buy probably eight or 10 more colts.
That many?
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking a lot of money.
We were looking. We made a deal. It's not finalized yet, but we were outside Montreal last night, and we looked at 3 colts and picked 2 out of the 3 that we liked, and we're going to form a partnership with the gentleman that owns them, and bring those 2 colts down to the farm in a month or so.
Now, when you're talking that you aren't likely to buy any horses down there that are less than $25,000.
Well, it depends. We're looking for like this horse, for instance. A horse sale is still a horse sale. I expected this colt to sell for $18,000-$20,000, and he sold. We bought him for $9,000.
Oh, you did buy him for 9. Oh, that's not the other one. The other one is what I was thinking.
Yeah, measured response.
Measured response is more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was more expensive.
Yeah. And he was a colt that he was tired at the sale. See, his breeding, he was by the fastest 2-year-old record daughter of a horse called No Nukes, which is one of the hottest stallions in the business right now. So his pedigree was so good on measured response that he had a lot of people looking at him. And he must have been out of his stall about 600 or 700 times in 3 days. And some horses can take that, some can't, and he didn't like that at all. So when he came out of the stall after 600 times, he was tired and sick of the whole thing, and he didn't look impressive. But we saw a video taken on the horse during the summer when he was out running in the paddock, and he really looked impressive. We could see the things that we couldn't see that day at the sale. So we picked him up for... even though we paid $45,000 for him, I expect this horse would have sold for $65,000-$70,000 easy.
Okay. Now this horse here, this one's hyper, the other one isn't. Which would you rather have to work with? What's the most potential? Do you think a horse that's hyper is going to be?
Well, all these things are vices when you get to the races. See, this horse is down about 75 pounds that I'd like to see him. We took him into Montreal and left him overnight because he was schooling the next morning, and he lost 100 pounds in 48 hours because he's a real stallion. He saw all the horses around, it was hot and humid, and in the city, you know how much hotter it is.
An awful lot of steam coming off on him. Like you'll notice it's coming out here. So if you're talking 8 or 10 and you got 17 stalls and maybe some more later, and you're not going to board horses, are some of these reserved for the family's riding horses?
Well, we use them now. Eventually, they're going to, we'll build a run-in shed that will accommodate some stalls also. So these horses will have their own area of the farm to live at. And this barn we'll probably use exclusively for the harness horses.
I've never been in an all-horse barn in the winter. Do they generate enough heat like cows do to keep the barn comfortable?
Surprisingly enough, see, when we renovated this barn, we insulated the whole thing, the walls and the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
And the water never froze. Not even a skim of ice over the top, and the 6 or 7 saddle horses were left here for the winter with Johnny Menard and Rodney taking care of the place, and they were very comfortable the whole winter.
And you don't want it to be warm, as long as they're comfortable, right?
This type of horse, the saddle horse, they're much healthier in a cooler environment.
As long as they're out of the wind, huh?
These horses, it's just the opposite, because in the wintertime they could come in that steamy and that hot, and we have to bathe them or else sponge them down, so we need the heat.
All right, so you're going to go to Florida now. When you get back from Harrisburg, you're going to go to Florida with these 7, 8, 9 new ones you might buy?
We'll probably take 16 horses down to Florida.
To Florida to train?
Yeah, we'll put that many horses together.
And you're going to Ocala, which is what? Ocala's a kind of a...
It's a beautiful horse country. It's aside from Lexington, it's probably the nicest horse country in North America.
Okay, now you're talking to someone who knows what Lexington is. Maybe people may not know. Lexington, Kentucky, and that's mostly the thoroughbreds, right? In Lexington, do they have these standardbreds also?
Standardbreds is
they do
big
have?
in, Lexington
Is that
also.
where Hanover is? Or is Hanover in
Hanover's
Pennsylvania? In Pennsylvania. Billy Houghton was where? Was he in Kentucky, or was he in Pennsylvania?
Well, he raced the Grand Circuit and Sire Stakes programs. He went down to Florida for the winters, and then he brought his stable back and was all over northeastern United States, really, because he probably had 250.
One of the best-known names in harness racing was Billy Houghton, whom I had the pleasure to meet, like I say, back in the late 70s at the Blue Bonnet. When I used to be up there for work, I would go up and check with some of the racing secretaries. So when you're down there, do you have property you own, or will you be renting?
No, last year we were invited down to Canico Farms. He's our neighbor, just lives across the border about 15 miles. He has a 100-horse operation over there, big breeding farm, and he owns a place in Ocala, a small training center. And he invited us to come down because last fall we got into the business at the last minute. There was nothing to do at the farm. You know, the building stops in this area during the winter. So I went down to Harrisburg, bought these 2 horses, and needed a place to go for the winter, so went down to Canico Farms down in Ocala.
We were talking with the sons of the owner out front here before. We asked them who they were, and they told me who they were. We got talking about just about the family a little bit, how they're here during the summer, and just a little old personal conversation, so to speak. And this will probably be shown the 2nd or the 9th of September, which they'll probably be gone by then, but they'll have a copy of something. So what else can you show us? Have you got anything else to do right now?
No.
Let's go down a couple of things. We'll just take a break and be right back to you. Calvin just reminded me, and I want to make sure that you people out there who are watching this program understand that we're not talking horses here that are going to be raced in the local fairs and so forth. These are world-class horses that you expect to compete with some of the best horses in the United States, right? And that's what you want. And here's Kathy, just washed down. That's measured response. Horses all have to have more than one name, you'll notice. And so this area is where you wash the horses, and you intend to put more stalls. On this side,
we took 3 cement floors out of this when we renovated this part of the barn. We have 3 wash stations here, so you can actually be washing 3 horses at a time. And we have the door off center because eventually we'll build 5 more stalls on this one side. We'll take the posts out of the aisleway here, and we'll have a nice wash area and work area, the central work area of the whole barn.
Okay, this before was what? What did they have here before? This was here. Were the cows here?
Dairy cows were.
There were? So you had gutters here too, huh? Before?
Yeah.
Okay, we're all new knotty pine here, and those are nice and round. We have anything else you can tell us around here? That's basically what this is wash area, and you don't store any equipment in here? Do you ever bring your trailers in here when you're not using them or anything? No?
No, we just use this exclusively for the horses. All the stalls these are all oak stalls that we built.
They're oak.
Yeah.
Oak stalls, and we showed you the inside of one before. And what's the size of that?
12 by 12.
12 by 12 size. Yeah. And what do we have here? This is where you keep your equipment. Calvin, this is where the...
Yeah, this is...
This is the English, the riding horses, the family's riding horses equipment. It's too bad they don't have a nice place to keep it. Look at the order in here, will you? Gosh, isn't that well... all set up here in the Sunny Hill stables. And now they're getting ready to wash brandy.
Yep, Bradish Dandy.
Bradish. Why do I say brandy? That's the one we just saw, Bradish.
That's Bradish Dandy. Measured response.
All right, this is the one that we're letting steam off. You didn't finish all his hay yet.
No.
So you'll need quite that fast. You don't give them any water to drink when they first come in.
We give him a measured amount. This horse, we know him very, very well, and I can almost tell you exactly how many swallows he drinks when he comes in from jogging, so we're not worried about them drinking too much. He takes about 5 or 6 swallows, and that's enough for him. When they train, we're very careful to watch they don't drink too much water.
You enjoy this, do they? He appears to.
Well, it's like people. It feels very good. They get washed every single day practically of their life.
A horse will not sing in the shower like you and I do. Just don't do that, but he's enjoying it there, and I think he's trying to talk to Kathy and saying, I like this, and wetting him down, and be very careful for injuries. These horses are kept, and they're like show dogs. You just be very, very careful. They spend a lot of hours on these horses. World-class horses at Sunny Hill Farm, and we'll be right back. We're in the former, I guess, machine building in the back of the, what was to be the old dairy building where they bottle the milk. And Dan, what do we have here? We've got.
We're building a sign for Sunny Hill Stables now. And Neil bought this down in Fort Lauderdale in an antique shop down in Fort Lauderdale. He's a bronze statue of a horse. And he bought this Surrey a few years ago, and we took the top off it, and we're going to put the posts on either side, and we're going to put the sign that you see over here, Sunny Hill, above the horse. And that way we can move him around, find the best spot for him.
That'll be out in front of the house, so you can advertise your beautiful, you'll be very, very proud in yourself, too, of this establishment. It's changed so much over the past year and a half, right?
Yeah, we all feel good about it. Neil is, you know, given a lot of support to the farm, and he's put up the money to build a beautiful place, and it's been tough, you know. It's taken a long time, a lot of money, and a lot of hard work, and everybody pitched in, the boys, everybody.
It's a great outing for them. I mean, you know, if they like it, for him to have a place for the boys to come in the summer like this, keeps them out of trouble, and they're enjoying it. And they were telling me they painted all this fence. I asked them what they did, and that's a great thing, and it's good for them, and then very proud for themselves when they look at that fence. They're very proud of it. And why black, I asked him. He said that easier to maintain. They knew, easier to maintain, they said.
Yeah, it's a cribbing agent also, the asphalt, and it is very easy to maintain.
I don't know if she's on you, no? I thought you had someone calling you. All right, well, getting back to horses in general now, what's the most races you've raced in one day?
I drove in probably 8 or 9 races.
On one track?
One day, yeah.
It means you'd miss 1 or 2 at the most?
Yeah.
There's usually 10? Maximum?
Yeah.
And that'd be a full day. You couldn't go out again at night someplace else and...
Well, it depends if you're racing the stakes programs, which we participate in also, and sometimes you'll have a race at another track. You'll have to drive your last horse, jump in a car, and drive up to the track, or catch a plane and fly to another track and drive a horse. And there's been drivers I read the other day that have driven at 3 different tracks.
On the same day?
Same day.
That can't be really fun. I don't know that. It's work. It's work for you, obviously. It's not all fun, but that's got to be an awful lot of work.
Well, it's hectic, you know.
It's got to be. You must be running, changing clothes as you're driving.
Yeah, I've actually changed from my racing colors in the back seat of a taxi cab on the way to an airport to catch a flight.
All right, let's talk about racing colors. Racing colors, each stable has their own colors.
Well, the stables in the harness business don't have registered colors like they do in the thoroughbred business. The thoroughbred jockeys wear the stable colors. They don't have a set of their own colors. And in our sport, the driver has a set of his own colors, or the trainer would have a color scheme for his stable. And
okay, so it's the trainer or the driver that has colors in
that's
this,
right.
not the farm.
The drivers wear their own colors all the time.
And you're still using the green.
That's right, green and white.
Green and white is yours, which is the color of the barn and the grass outside. There's a lot of green, right?
Sure.
People tell me that blue does not go with green. When I dress, my wife says, you can't wear blue with green. I said, come on. The greatest artist in the world has got a blue sky and green grass. That go together very well.
I guess, yeah, I suppose.
So, I asked you earlier when we were off camera about the family in Canada that had the 7 drivers. The Filions?
The Filion family.
Are they still driving?
Oh yes, they're Yves Filion, Henry Filion, and Renaud are in Montreal right now. Yves very successful, one of the biggest breeders and best horseman and driver in the area. And Hervé is still down in the States.
He's the better known. He's the one that had the record of.
One of the most famous drivers. He has over 12,000 wins, career wins in his lifetime. Won over 800 races in 1 year. He holds the record.
Let me ask you now: how long could you expect as a driver, if your health is good, to be driving? To what age?
I think you can drive in your prime at 50 years old easily.
And still be competing?
Still be as good as you've ever been. And after that, I'm not sure, 50, 55, but 50 years old. Hervé Filion, for instance, must be 50 years old. He just set a record last year, over 800 wins. So.
Let me ask you another question about this. Are you learning every day? Are you still learning racing?
Well, you always do, you know. There's always something to learn. The day you stop learning is that's as good as you'll ever be. So you're always learning. Something new to learn every day.
All right, well, tell me, as we're going to be closing out, what is your goal? You have a goal set for the future?
Well, for me right now, it's to be successful at what we're doing right now. It's all brand new. The farm is brand new, and the Sunny Hill Stables and the Sunny Hill Colts business that we have is all brand new, and we just like to develop it into a very successful business to get a lot of enjoyment out of, and with the enjoyment you're winning races, and from winning races you're making money. I'd like to win some of the world-class events, and
I'm sure you will. You're getting the stable for it now. You got one horse there, at least one of the two that is a very good possibility if you don't get into barring injuries, right? Those are always there.
That's right.
Any idea what percentage of horses get injured to any extent that?
Well, injuries, 75% of the injuries when a horse is racing is from fatigue, and it happens from the 3/4 pole to the finish line. So it's all training and conditioning and knowing when to race your horse and when not to.
How often could you race a horse, say, in a month, if the races were available?
4 times.
4 times. Once a week, usually?
We race our colts about, we don't give them more than 20 starts for the year. You know, a regular
20?
racehorse, an aged racehorse, will race about 35 or 40 times for the year.
The other day you mentioned you had one a first and a second on Monday night with your 2 horses, and your 2 colts, I guess I say. When does a colt become a horse?
4 years old.
4 years. That's what that'd be after January 1st, his 4th January. And you had 1 to race. And you also mentioned you had another race you were going on the 25th of August.
Yes, it's one of the special event programs, New York Sire Race, and it's at Vernon Downs on the 25th of August, and the purse will be approximately $30,000, and we finished second in one of those races at Batavia 2 weeks ago for $20,000, and our horse raced very good, and he's improving all the time.
So that gives you about $5,000. You told me
That's
25% for
That's
the.
right.
Now, what will happen? The race is the 25th. When do you leave here?
We'll leave. This horse, he trucks very good. He's a really comfortable horse, a smart horse to take on the road. So we'll leave the day before. We'll drive into Vernon Downs, get the horse bedded down and walked and relaxed in the stall. And the next day he walks around, and we're ready for the races at night.
Do you bring the other horse too for company?
No.
That is, people do. The horses are better with. You bring your dog?
No. No.
Okay, they don't really. I guess the running horses have more of a pet or a horse or another horse that they're.
It depends. Some horses, they're sour, you know. They don't like to be alone, or they're not good eaters, so they'll have a companion, usually a goat, for instance, because the goats seem to freshen them up and make them happy, and a goat will eat their food if they don't eat it. So you get a horse that's not eating. They don't want the goat to eat all their food, and so they'll eat their food. Stimulates.
Would that work in a home, I wonder, with children or grandchildren that don't want to eat? You get something we can do with that? I think we could ask Calvin to come over. That would make the person eat pretty quick.
I had a blacksmith. It reminds me of a story one time that he bought a little pony for his kids. He had 11 kids, and he came home at 7 o'clock one night, and the water had broke out in the barn, and the little kids liked the pony so much they thought he was thirsty. They brought the pony into the kitchen, filled up the sink with water, and that's where the pony had his drink.
So after the race, that an evening race or afternoon?
In Vernon Downs, it's going to be an evening race, and then we're in Saratoga September 3rd.
So the next day, at 26, you'll come back here.
That's right.
And then you go September 3rd for another stake race. That's for the New York.
New York and Saratoga in the afternoon.
Okay, Dan, there's one other part of the barn that I don't know if everybody's been in here before, and that's the, what do you call that?
We call it the bunkhouse.
The bunkhouse area where you have the Natty Pine and so forth.
That's
and
right.
A table. Can we go in there and take a peek?
That's
And
right.
let me ask you, in the future, are you also anticipating ever having open house of any kind here?
Well, when we get into full operation, possibly. I think there's a lot of people interested. We get people stopping.
Well,
as you just
yes,
saw.
I know that, and that's
see
one
the
reason why we're
horses,
here, of course, because people have been asking, and we've heard a lot of stories, and I think we've cleared up an awful lot of them today. We got a chance to meet Dan Maddish, or they have. I met you a couple times, and we met the boys here, the workers, the fence painters, just like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry. They painted the sign, the fences, right? And we'll go look at the bunkhouse, and then we'll be closing out. Thanks very much. We're in the bunkhouse, as Dan calls it. The room's about 14 or 15 by awfully close to 27, 28 feet long. And it was what before, you say?
This used to be the old milk house, this section for the Menards when they had it as a dairy farm, and then we put that addition in. That's a bathroom back in there. Pretty large with a sink, you know.
I kind of forgot that. That's right. The Menards were here after they bought the farm originally from the Robinson family, and they lived here for a while, and they had the fire when the big brick house was here. And then they went out of the business, and then it was sold, and now it's a, I guess we'd have to say, can't call it a racing stable, can I?
Sure.
Okay, we'll call it a racing stable. It's the stable, Sunny Hill Farm Stables, and you'll see this horse-oriented, obviously, all the way around, including the polo sticks, but Dan said he's going to try to get a basketball and paint it white, because this is awfully hard to hit when you're on a horse going full gallop. Is there anything else in here, fellas, that I should note in here? We want to notice this. This is horse country. The tablecloth on the table. Nice table here where they can sit around, and it's not for the public, it's for their own people, their own family, and I guess they get guests here. And in conclusion, gentlemen, anything, what can we...
Well, we covered just about all. We'd just like to invite you back when we get into full operation.
You know something? I've done about 25 of these shows, and you're the first person ever said, we hope you come back. You people who are watching this, I don't take offense to it, but this is the first man that said we want to invite you back, and he did it on camera. I thank you very much, Dan. That's a first. All right, gentlemen, and thank you very much for talking with us, too. You got anything you want to add?
No, thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you, and it was a surprise, and a good surprise. You could say, do that again. Ready? All right. And in closing, you got to say something. Say hello to Mom and Dad or anybody you want out there on TV. What about Sally and Shazy?
No.
Sarah? No. Anyone in particular? No, Dan? Well, we wish Dan the very best down at Vernon Downs, right? And
Yeah,
I understand that's near
25th.
Utica?
Yeah.
Area on the 25th, and also at Saratoga on September 3rd. And we will take you up, and we will come back maybe next year and
All
talk
right,
to you and
that'd
see
be
how
great.
things ever get. And good luck
That'd
at
be
the
great.
horse sale.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you very, very much, gentlemen. Nice talking to you. Hey, no hair this time, see? Thank you very, very much. We're at Sunny Hill Farm. Our focus today was on the family, the owner's two sons, Dan Maddish and his horses, the trainer, who, about how many years now? You said 16?
Gosh, it's
Altogether?
it's 1974. It's 16
16 years
already.
that he's been in the horse building. When you go by, look at the great painting work that the two boys did on the fences. And if you see them, stop and say, gosh, you did a good job on the fence. And when will you be heading back to Canada for the finish of the summer?
Start of September.
After Labor Day.
And that's when your school starts, huh?
Yeah.
And what year are you in the school?
9.
9?
I just graduated from high school.
What are you going to do this year?
Well, in Montreal, it's 11th grade, so I'm going to go to 12th grade. It's the same as senior
Is that a
year here.
separate school?
No, it's the same.
But you've already graduated, but now it's the 12th grade.
Yeah.
That's like a pre-college?
That's right.
Okay, well, good luck, too.
Thank you.
And this is Bob Venn with What's Going On Here, saying goodbye to everybody. And thank you very much for watching this show. And keep watching. Every Sunday night we have a show of some kind. We're visiting somebody, either on a tour, as we did today, or just sitting down and talking. We've got some good ones planned for the future. Every Sunday night, it's on at 5, 9, and starting the fall, will be back at 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and 9 the following morning. Every night, Calvin's got shows on of sports, parades, and what have you. He's got everything covered on Hometown Cable at 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock right now, 1 a.m. and if you're a late riser, or I should say an early riser, and you don't want to, you can't sleep, watch Hometown Cable. Watch me when I'm on at 1 o'clock. That'll put you to sleep. And also next morning at 9 o'clock, watch us again. Thank you very much for watching. We're always glad. If you see anything you out there you want us to cover, tell us. If you like our show, tell us that. And if you don't like it, tell me what you didn't like about it.
Gumby.
When he's ready, then we'll start. I'll just have it going.
Here he comes.
Come on, Gumby.
Just leave it up there, Kathy.
Here we go. He's gonna take it though.
Hi, Bob Venn here with what's going on here. You see this horse eating a carrot? That's green. Don't let it fool you. We're not in Shazy. That's not the Shazy green. That's the green from the Sunny Hill Stables on Route 11. We've been here for the last hour and a half to 2 hours talking with Dan and Kathy Madish about their horses and their world-class race horses. And here's one of them right behind us. And the name of the horse again?
This is Measured Response.
Measured Response. And you're going to hear about Measured Response. You're going to see him running. So tune in this coming Sunday night. And every Sunday night for What's Going On here with Bob Venn. Kathy will be on this week as well as Dan. So tune in.